Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I am your host, Catherine Basu, and today I am going to be chatting about Pilates with one of the Fit Armadillo instructors, Harjit. Those of you who have been subscribers have already met Harjit if you listen every day to the podcast, because I had her on yesterday as a guest to just talk about her fitness journey and just have a fun episode. And I will definitely continue to have similar episodes with other Fit Armadillo instructors. So if you are looking to find your fitness match and want to get to know your private instructor a little better first in a fun way, I highly recommend you subscribe and stay tuned for those episodes. For those of you who are new to the podcast or don't know much about what we do at Fit Armadillo, I want to take this opportunity to remind you and let you know about that. Fit Armadillo is my fitness company where we specialize in helping people enjoy fitness at their own place and pace through private fitness sessions provided over live two-way video chat. So you can go to fitarmadillo.com, our homepage, to see a video overview of how this works. And once you're there, you can also go and book your own private online personal training session or yoga session. I had our instructor Kayla on last week for 2 episodes to talk more about what she does and her focus points. And she's actually my private yoga instructor. I enjoy sessions with her. Or you can enjoy a private Pilates session. So Harjit is our Pilates instructor, and if you wanted to go directly to her page because you've met her through the podcast and are excited about trying out Pilates, you can go directly to her booking page, which is fitarmadillo.com/Harjit. So I did mention that Harjit was on the podcast yesterday for our Meet the Trainer, Meet the Instructor episode, but for those of you who didn't get to meet her yet, here is a little bit more about Harjit. Harjit Naghra is a software engineer turned Pilates instructor at Willow Fitness and Fit Armadillo. Harjit helps people with old injuries to restore their bodies so they can finally exercise in the way they love. She fell in love with fitness after using Pilates to build strength and flexibility into her fragile, injury-prone body. When she's not teaching online or in Toronto, Canada, you can find Harjit exploring new ways to move and challenge herself in dance classes, eccentrics, and circus. Harjit, thank you for joining me again for the podcast and to talk to us about Pilates. I know Pilates had a big moment just over a decade ago because that's when I got into fitness, and because I could teach mat Pilates, I was really in demand, but it's not the most trendy form of fitness this year in 2018. So I'd love to have you answer for us the question, what is Pilates and what does it mean to take a Pilates class?
Okay, that's a great question. I have to admit, when I sometimes still meet people who have never heard of Pilates or they don't know what it is, and it always surprises me when it shouldn't. So Pilates, you could say it's a corrective form of exercise. So it's a way of strengthening the body, but also improving the flexibility. And you're really focusing on working the small stabilizing muscles that are around the spine and around the joints. And it's the kind of exercise where you have to use your body. So if you want to turn off your mind and then just run on the treadmill, pave the pavement, and you have to think. And it's a very intelligent, quiet, meditative form of exercise or movement, as it's known in the Pilates/yoga world.
Love that. And I think, for me, I got into fitness through running, and I ended up teaching all those Pilates classes because it was so in demand, and I never had any injuries when I taught all those classes. And then later on, I started running more, so I was running more miles, that's part of it, but I wasn't teaching my Pilates anymore or practicing it myself, and I ended up experiencing an injury for the first time. So I really appreciate you sharing how practicing Pilates helps us support our joints, which, if we have issues at any of our joints, there's going to be issues at that joint and then anywhere down the line, right? So it definitely is applicable for a lot of different people who have different goals.
Yeah, totally. You could say Pilates is really, it's something that anyone can do. And it really depends though on your personality, and it fits any goal, really, you could say. And the idea behind it is you want to strengthen your torso muscles, so your deep abdominals and the rest of your core. So when people think of core, they just usually think six pack muscles, but it's really more internal, and you can think of it as a cylinder. You have your deepest abdominals, your transverse in the front. You have your pelvic floor underneath to support your organs. And then at the top, you have your diaphragm, which is like every time you inhale, it goes down and just, gently massages your organs, and that leads to a whole chain reaction down. And then in the back of the cylinder, you have your deep back muscles, your multifidus. So in Pilates, we're looking at correctly activating all of these core muscles and then stabilizing there, and then working the arms and the legs and challenging ourselves.
So how would Pilates give you more time, energy, and money for the fun things in life? I know I often try to get people to realize that fitness, it's not just about fitting in your skinny jeans, or which, I mean, Pilates could definitely help you do, because you are focusing on those core muscles, the deeper core muscles. So I know for moms,
Yep.
I love recommending that for new moms that want to rebuild that, especially once they get recovered enough, right? But love helping people like enjoy those fringe benefits. So for Pilates giving us more time, energy, and money for the fun things, how can it help?
Okay. So a lot of people who are drawn to Pilates, they do it either because they love the quiet, meditative way. They love feeling like they're doing something special for themselves, and it's a way to de-stress from their day, where they can just focus on their bodies, the really deep internal sensations, and just come out of the session just feeling like they've gotten, the usual taller and longer and just more energized feeling. And the other group of people who typically come are people who have injuries, or they have weaknesses, they have instabilities.
For those of you who are joining us and only have 15 minutes and are going for an out and back walk, that is your halfway point reminder.
There's something wrong with their body that's like getting in the way of them doing what they need to do, and it's causing them chronic pain, or maybe, they have low energy, and they might have to actually, like in my own experience and with, a lot of my clients, they have to go and see a physio or a chiropractor or osteopath or one of those specialists. And to do that, usually you're spending quite a bit of money. You're making a lot of frequent trips, but it may not resolve the underlying issue, because it might be just looking at your body in a way that's very isolated. Whereas in Pilates, we're always looking at the full body and the full movement, but we just initiate, and we always start like at the core, and then we work our way out. And it has a way of addressing a problem in the body, or a misalignment or an imbalance at the root cause, and addressing that. And I think that's one of the reasons that Pilates really stands out from a lot of other forms of exercise. And one of the really great things about it is that once you develop, you basically fix the problem that you're having, you also end up having developed all these skills. So these movement skills, this body awareness that you can then take away and use in your daily life. For example, like, just the way that you're standing, holding groceries, or you're sitting at a desk, or even in a car, it just like changes everything that you do. And when you're not in pain, or, you're not feeling all achy in the low back, it's like your brain space is opened up, and you can focus on the things that you want to do, and you're not like as cranky and you're happier. And in that way, that's like what I view as saving time, saving money and energy, because you're no longer having to go and see a whole bunch of specialists trying to fix this thing that they're not able to fix. And you're able to be there for your family, and to be fully present as an employee, and just be fully present in your own life, and to be able to pursue your own goals. So if you're not in like pain, or if you like have enough energy available to you so that you can live your life the way you really want to, I just feel like it makes you into a person that's just like more approachable, that's happier, that's more engaged with life. And that's certainly what it's done for me.
Love that. And I know it's been really trendy now for people to talk about being present, just in the present moment and being mindful. But so I guess Pilates is a little trendy in that regard, where you're being present by thinking about how you're moving, no matter what you're doing. That'll be kind of an ingrained thing for people as they're working on their Pilates practice, would you say?
Yeah, you could say, yeah, that's definitely true. I have found that it takes some practice to get to the point where you can do other things, and then also like have a little part of your mind separate, and you can observe what your body is doing and how your alignment is, and whether, for example, are you engaging your deep abdominal so that your shoulders can relax and the rest of your body is relaxed. And it takes practice, and that's the whole purpose of going to Pilates, because that's where you build your practice.
Love that. So while I've definitely experienced the injury prevention qualities of Pilates personally, I often struggle as a personal trainer to convince new clients to do some of that injury prevention work and try Pilates before working with me on some of their other fitness goals. Could you share with us why you need to fix old injuries to help prevent new injuries, and why Pilates might be helpful for that goal?
Okay, so I'll preface this by saying I'm like those clients where I want to get to the fun stuff. I totally understand that. Okay, if I didn't have to do Pilates, I probably wouldn't. I do it because I have no choice, but I still enjoy doing it once I get started.
Sure, sure.
Okay, so the reason that you want to fix your old injuries first is, um, in my experience, if you have this lingering injury that's not healing, your progress will always be stagnated. You'll always be hitting plateaus.
Mm.
And if you keep strengthening your muscles over top of it, what you're doing is you're magnifying the imbalances in your body. You're just building more of the wrong muscles on top. It's going to make it harder to undo and fix the longer the problem goes on. And the harder the workouts you do, the more intense, like HIIT workouts and all of that, it's like they're awesome, but at the same time, you're just like compounding your problem if you don't take time away to do what I like to call more recovery workouts.
Mm.
So you're working on fixing the misalignments and the imbalances in your body. You're practicing engaging your core muscles, and then that's something that you can just take away and actually apply during those other fun workouts. So I actually think it's like a win-win, and you get more benefit and you get more of the results that you want out of those other fun workouts.
Love that. So everyone should try Pilates is basically the the message.
Totally. I definitely think everyone should try it. Well, not just once. Sometimes, like, even if you don't like something the first couple of times, you should still keep going and trying it more than that, as long as it's not causing you like more pain and discomfort. Because a lot of the time, the things that I didn't like right away, I actually learned to like it and I enjoy it. And an example of that is cardio and strength training. I have to admit, until I started going to circus classes, I was not a big fan of either of those things. But because we had no choice and we had to do it, I learned to love it. And now I do it on my own.
Yep. I mean, well, I had that experience with spinning. Like I took my first spinning class just by accident. I went to take a Pilates class, and the instructor that was covering the class didn't teach Pilates, but she taught spinning. And I'm like, what does that even mean? I thought it was some kind of like spinning, like a spinning wheel, like someone would use like thread, and it was a spinning. And I hated the class. I mean, I wasn't expecting it, and I didn't try it again for at least 2 years, but then I loved it and I became an instructor. And then I had a very similar experience with yoga, where I took my first class. It was in agony because I'm not very flexible, and was doing a lot of running at the time. And then I had a running injury, and that was all I could do. And I found that it was very beneficial for my health, but then also, just even for my mind. And so now I don't feel like myself when I don't do yoga. So definitely encourage people to try more than once for Pilates.
Yeah.
Or anything.
The one other thing I would say is that just like if you've tried Pilates and you didn't like the experience, it could just be that you didn't like that version of it, or the way that instructor taught it. There are many different versions of Pilates, and yeah, just give yourself a chance to experience it. Don't write it off.
I'm trying to think, Harjit, there is a really good quote that Joseph Pilates that had about just how, he was mentioning numbers in terms of how Pilates can affect us, like in terms of how many sessions we take. And I'm forgetting what the quote is, but do you remember what it is yourself?
Okay, so that famous Joseph Pilates quote is, in 10 sessions, you'll feel the difference. In 20 sessions, you'll see the difference. And in 30 sessions, you'll have a whole new body.
Love that. Do you feel like that's true? Because you've taken a lot more sessions than I have.
I have to say that I actually think that you could probably like half the numbers and still get those results.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
No, that makes sense. All right, Harjit, my last question for you is one that I get asked when I'm raving about you to people who are new to Fit Armadillo, and I try to encourage them to try a Pilates session as their first private online fitness session. And the question I get asked, even after I send them the awesome testimonials that you have from other clients, is how can they possibly enjoy a Pilates session with you if they don't have a reformer or other Pilates equipment. So can you talk to us about the difference between mat Pilates and reformer Pilates so that people can wrap their head around that a little bit more, and maybe that would help them be able to work with you online, but also just understand the difference for themselves if they're looking at a studio and maybe even working with you in person in Toronto?
Okay. I would say that yes, there's a difference between doing Pilates on the machines versus doing it on the mat work. But the way that Joseph Pilates viewed it, the mat work is the stuff that's harder. So the stuff on the equipment is something that prepares you for the mat work. And it was his intention that mat work was accessible to everyone and that everyone should be doing it, at home. One of the things that I've done recently was I've made a conscious decision to move away from teaching equipment Pilates here in Toronto. And I'm focused more on mat-based classes because I want the teaching to be very accessible to people. I want them to be able to take it away with them and do it wherever they are. And so part of what I'm working on, for example, like on my website, Willow Fitness, is I'm just like experimenting with how to take the exercises or the concepts that we do on the equipment and how people can experience similar benefits just like using a mat.
Awesome. No, I love that because, I think, I've been running a small group fitness program, and that's been really effective for some of even my long-term clients, because even though we meet for a session a week for a few years, like having that chance to have me on their mind for more than just one day a week, it was very beneficial for them having success. So I love that, just thinking that same thing for Pilates, like having small things you could do every day versus when you're with the instructor for a set amount of time it has to be very powerful.
Yeah.
Well, Harjit, it's been great having you for today's episode and learning more about Pilates. I know obviously people can find you on the Fit Armadillo website, and your schedule's at fitarmadillo.com/Harjit, but how else can people connect with you and see what you're doing, especially as you're building Willow Fitness, if they want to learn more about that?
Okay, so you can always visit my website. So that's willowfitness.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Harjit, HARJIT, Willow Fitness. And I'm posting like my adventures and movement and exercise and just things that I discover, and fitness related books and all kinds of stuff. So there will be a lot of information for you there and things that will give you inspiration.
Awesome. I love it. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us for the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.